The night my parents asked me to help pay $16,800 to repair the Tesla my younger brother wrecked while driving drunk, I didn't yell. I didn't even laugh. I just looked at them and said, "Are you out of your minds?" And that's when I realized they actually were. My name's Daniel. I'm 24, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the afterthought in my own family. My younger brother Chase, who's 21, is the golden boy, charming, lazy, reckless, and somehow the sun still shines out of his rear end in our parents' eyes. He could burn down the house and they'd buy him marshmallows. Meanwhile, I've been working 2 jobs since I was 17 just to earn the privilege of living in my childhood bedroom and being treated like a financial plan instead of a son. Let me paint the scene. I've been paying $450 a month in rent to live in the same dusty bedroom with the same glow-in-the-dark stars I stuck on the ceiling at age 12. Meanwhile, Chase lounges around rent-free, guzzling groceries I paid for, and strutting around like he's Elon Musk with a trust fund. The unfairness is almost comical. In high school, I wasn't allowed to go out unless I maintained a 3.9 GPA and worked weekends at a warehouse. Chase scraped by with a 2.1 and got cheered on for trying his best. I graduated college in 4 years while juggling night shifts. Chase took 6 years, changed majors 3 times, and somehow my parents acted like he cured cancer when he finally got his diploma. But the final insult? They bought him a brand new $64,000 Tesla Model 3 Performance. Not the basic one, the maxed out version with the sports wheels, autopilot package, and custom midnight gray paint job. The day they gave it to him, we were all standing in the driveway when my dad handed him a little velvet box with the keys. My mom was practically in tears. Chase? He acted like he just got drafted to the NFL. Then my dad looked me right in the face, and said, "Don't be jealous. Your brother earned this." I could barely hold in my laugh. Earned it how? He majored in beer pong. Now fast forward a few weeks. Tesla bro is out of control. Every night it's the same. He rolls in at 2 a.m., flooring the car back and forth in the driveway like he's drag racing a Prius. Yes, I know Teslas don't rev, but Chase found a way to make that electric whine sound like nails on a chalkboard. He and his buddies used that car like it was a go-kart. Drunk joyrides, TikToks pretending to be asleep while on autopilot, donuts in parking lots. They were one street lamp away from being an episode of Jackass, Electric Edition. I tried warning him. I tried warning my parents. "He's going to kill someone," I said. "You're overreacting," they told me. "You're just bitter you didn't get a car," my mom snapped. And then it happened. One Thursday night, I heard the door slam open. Whispering. Then my dad peeled out of the driveway like he was headed to a crime scene, which, as it turns out, wasn't far from the truth. By the time they dragged Chase back in the house at 4 a.m., he was shoeless, bleeding from his forehead, and slurring about a tree that jumped out at him. Turns out, after downing God knows how many shots at some dive bar, Chase thought it'd be a great idea to test the Tesla's acceleration by cornering at 60 miles per hour on a residential street. He wrapped the car around a tree in someone's front yard. Front end crushed. Windshield shattered. Airbags exploded. The works. But here's the part that still makes my blood boil. They covered it up. My dad got there before the cops, paid the homeowner off, and had the car quietly towed to our garage. And then 2 days later, 2 days, they called a family meeting. You know, the kind of meeting where they sit you down with serious faces and say, "We need to come together." And by come together, they mean you're paying for this, Daniel. I thought they were kidding. They weren't. The repairs would cost $16,800, and since Chase had a whopping $700 to his name, probably reserved for vape pens and Yeezys, and my parents could only throw in $3,000 from their emergency fund, they expected me to help chip in the rest. I stared at them, stunned. "You want me to pay $13,100 to fix a car I didn't buy, don't drive, and told you repeatedly he shouldn't be driving? We're a family," My mom said, like she was quoting a Hallmark card she never read to me. And you've been saving up. It's not like you're using that money right now. That was it. That's when I knew I wasn't the son. I was the safety net. The family's walking, talking ATM? I said no. But they weren't done, not even close. What they did next crossed a line I never thought they'd even approach. And it nearly ruined everything. After I said no, I figured the worst was behind me. That they'd huff and puff, slam a few doors, maybe stop making my favorite lasagna out of spite. Instead, things went quiet. Too quiet. That's how I should have known they weren't done. In my family, no doesn't mean the discussion's over, it means the planning starts. 3 nights after the family meeting, I was woken up by a sound that could only be described as someone playing the drums with a metal pipe. At 7 a.m., I wandered downstairs groggy, cracked open the garage door, and nearly dropped. The Tesla had been annihilated. Not just the front end from the crash anymore. This time it was savage. All the windows were smashed in. The windshield looked like someone dropped a boulder on it. Huge dents cratered the hood. One of the side mirrors dangled by a wire like a broken limb. It looked like it had been dropped into a demolition derby and lost. Chase stood there red-faced, my mom on the verge of tears, my dad doing his "I'm calm but obviously seething" routine. And then Chase turned and pointed at me. "You did this!" I laughed, actually laughed. "What?" My dad held something up. A baseball bat. My old bat from Little League. I hadn't touched that thing since high school. Apparently it had been found in the bushes, outside the garage. "You expect me to believe this?" I said, looking them dead in the eyes. But they weren't blinking. My mom's voice hit that high, shaky octave she uses when she wants to sound hurt and furious at the same time. "Why would your bat be outside if you weren't the one who did it?" "You're serious," I said. "You really think I'd destroy a car just because I said I didn't want to pay for the last time he destroyed it?" My dad crossed his arms. "We already filed the claim. The insurance company is sending someone Monday. We told them it was vandalism, out of jealousy." That's when I realized what was actually happening. They couldn't claim insurance for the drunk driving crash. Too risky, too traceable. But vandalism? That's covered. So, they staged it. Chase took my old bat, wrecked the car further, planted it like evidence, and the 3 of them sold the story so fast it made my head spin. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly, blood rushing to my ears. "You're going to tell an insurance investigator that I destroyed the Tesla, on purpose, to get out of paying for it?" My mom didn't blink. "We heard you leave your room around 2 a.m. That was a lie. We didn't have any neighbors with security cameras that could see the driveway. If they were confident, they wouldn't be bluffing. I was staring at 3 people who knew the truth, and were still willing to commit fraud to protect Chase. They didn't care about legality. Or fairness. Or me. They cared about Chase. Always had. Always would. "I didn't touch that car," I said. "But go ahead. Try to sell that story." I walked away. Locked myself in my room. Called my boss and took Monday off. There was no way I was leaving my fate in their lying hands when that investigator showed up. That night, I lay awake realizing something good deep and permanent. If they were willing to lie about this, what else had they lied about? How many cover-ups had I missed? The Tesla wasn't just a car anymore. It was a line in the sand. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. The investigator arrived. His name was Mac, mid-40s, khakis and clipboard, the kind of guy who looked like he took pride in catching liars. My dad tried to get me to leave. "We'll handle it," he said with that fake parental concern, the kind he usually reserves for Chase when he loses his vape pen. I didn't even respond. Just stared until he backed off. They gave Mac the grand tour of the garage, the smashed Tesla, the mysteriously placed baseball bat, and a whole speech about family tensions and jealous older brothers. They were basically auditioning for a spot on Dateline. Chase even limped around like the bruises from the crash were fresh instead of a week old. He kept touching his temple like he was in a melodrama. I waited for my turn like a man on death row waiting to testify at his own fake trial. Finally, Mac called me in. He asked about Friday night. I told the truth. I got off work at 6, ordered a pizza around 9, played Xbox until 11, and crashed hard. Didn't leave my room. Didn't even know about the second accident until I heard screaming the next morning. He stared at me for a long time, then asked directly, "Did you damage the vehicle?" "No," I said. Then I added, "But you should know that car was already trashed before this vandalism. Check the airbags. They deployed over a week ago. That damage? That's from a DUI crash my brother caused, and they're covering it up." His pen froze. For the first time, he looked genuinely interested. So I told him everything. From the night my dad rushed out to the scene to the bruise on Chase's head to the fact that the Tesla hadn't moved from our garage in a week. I explained how they tried to get me to pay $13,000 and, when I refused, suddenly the car got extra destroyed. Mac took notes. Asked if anyone could confirm my alibi. "Only my Xbox party chat," I said. "But I was playing with 2 friends. They'll back me up." He nodded. "And neighbors? Any security cameras?" I told him no, not around our place. That seemed to make him pause again, jot something, then nod. "I'll be in touch." He left. And immediately, everything exploded. My mom started crying and accusing me of betrayal. My dad got in my face, saying I'd ruined everything. Chase sulked around the house like someone had kicked his puppy. I ignored them. And then came the twist I didn't see coming. 2 days later, Mac asked to meet. Alone. Away from the house. We met at a Starbucks on Main. He didn't even sit down before dropping it. "One of your neighbors got a new camera system 2 weeks ago. Caught the whole thing." He slid his tablet toward me. It was Chase. 2:13 a.m. Saturday morning. Clear as day, he sneaks outside, takes my old baseball bat out of my car's trunk, and begins obliterating his own Tesla. Windows, hood, windshield, everything. He even paused to check his angles. The whole thing looked like a deranged workout video. "I've done this job for 15 years, Max said. "This is the dumbest frame job I've ever seen." I couldn't help it, I laughed. Not out of humor. Just disbelief. He told me the insurance company was denying the claim. They were forwarding everything to their fraud department. And the police wanted statements, mine and Chase's. Then Mac asked the question I hadn't fully prepared for. "Do you want to press charges for attempted insurance fraud and false reporting?" And that's when I froze. Because this wasn't just about a car anymore. It was about everything that came before. Every ignored report card, every "you're just being dramatic," every time they chose Chase's lies over my truth. And now he tried to frame me. For a felony. And they backed him up. There was only one answer. "Yes," I said. "Press the charges." I got home that evening and saw the police cruiser already parked in our driveway. Officer Rivera was already inside. My dad was pacing like a caged animal, phone to his ear, spewing half-truths about family misunderstandings and mistaken identities. My mom had thrown herself onto the couch, crying like she'd just been told the family cat had been drafted to war. And Chase? He sat there. Pale. Small. Quiet. It was the first time I'd seen him without that smug, entitled glow. He looked like a guy who'd just figured out that being mom and dad's favorite doesn't count in felony court. The moment my mom saw me, she rushed over, face blotchy, voice trembling. "What have you done? The police said your brother might be charged with fraud. How could you?" I looked her straight in the eye. "I didn't do anything. Chase did this to himself. You all just helped him dig the hole." My dad slammed his phone down and stormed over. "You listen to me. You're not going to destroy this family over a stupid car. You're going to call them back and fix this. You're going to tell them it was a misunderstanding. No, I said steady. I'm not going to save him. Not this time. He opened his mouth again, probably to threaten me with something he couldn't enforce. But I was already walking past him. I went upstairs. Grabbed a duffel bag. I wasn't coming back here after tonight. Not after the way they looked me in the eye and lied. Not after watching them help frame me. I was done being the emotional punching bag for a family that only knew how to protect one of its own. When I came back down, my dad blocked the front door. If you walk out that door and go through with this, he growled, don't bother coming back. I didn't even hesitate. I stepped around him and pulled the door open. You already made that choice for me, Dad. The second you backed his lies over my truth. He didn't respond. For once, he didn't seem to know what to say. So I left. At 6 p.m. sharp, I gave my formal statement down at the precinct. Officer Rivera went through everything again, video footage, the planted bat, the original crash Chase had tried to cover up. She told me the charges were being processed, filing a false police report, attempted insurance fraud, and obstruction. Possibly more, depending on what the DA wanted to add related to the original DUI. And then she looked at me and asked a question I wasn't ready for. Are you aware that your parents may also be charged if it's proven they knowingly participated in the fraud attempt? That hit harder than I expected. Because the answer was, yeah. I knew. But I also knew they'd never admit it. Never write their names down next to his. They'd throw themselves into the fire to protect Chase. Or more accurately, they'd throw me into the fire to protect him. Let the DA decide, I said. I've told you everything I know. I drove to my friend Marcus's place. He was waiting on the porch with takeout and a second key. No questions. No judgment. Just, come inside, man. You're home. And that moment hit me harder than any of the others. That this quiet, safe, supportive silence, this was what family was supposed to feel like. Not the blood relation part. The real part. Unconditional presence. Not conditional loyalty. 6 months. That's how long it's been since I walked out that front door with a duffel bag and a decision that changed everything. It took 3 weeks for the case against Chase to move forward. Turns out, insurance companies don't take kindly to being played. Especially not when there's high-def footage of you bashing in your own car with your brother's bat like a drunk Batman audition. He pled guilty. The evidence was overwhelming: security footage, a blood alcohol reading from the night of the crash, which my parents had tried to lose, and my statement, which lined up perfectly with the forensic timeline. Final sentence: 6 months in county jail. 3 years probation. $10,000 in fines and court costs. License revoked for 5 years. He cried when they cuffed him. My mom cried harder. My dad just stared like someone finally told him the world doesn't run on his delusions. But they weren't off the hook. State Farm hit them with a fraud-related penalty and dropped them as clients. Their premium skyrocketed. Then came the legal fees. The Tesla loan was still active and now worth nothing. All in, they owed north of $40,000. They started drowning fast. I moved on. Got my own place, a modest 1-bedroom with quiet neighbors, no passive-aggressive comments at breakfast, no late-night revving Teslas. Just peace. I focused on work, got promoted to team lead, and enrolled in night classes for an MBA. Every day felt a little lighter. Like I was finally breathing air that didn't come filtered through obligation and resentment. But then, last month, the calls started again. First my mom. We're about to lose the house. After all we've done for you. Then my dad. You owe this family. Man up. Help us out. And even Chase from jail. I've changed, bro. I get it now. I just need a little help in here. Maybe some commissary money. I ignored them. Until they showed up at my apartment. Both parents. Standing at my door. No warning. Just pale faces and trembling hands, like I was their last lifeline. They said they were selling the house. That dad lost his job. That Mom's anxiety was unmanageable. That they just needed a few thousand to transition until the dust settled. I let them talk. I didn't interrupt. I watched them spin their sob story, reaching deep into their well of manipulative charm. And when they finally stopped, I just looked at them and said, "I'm sorry, could you remind me which part of framing me for a felony entitles you to my financial support?" It was like slapping them with silence. My mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. My dad actually looked stunned for once in his life. They hadn't prepared for this role reversal, for the part where I held all the power. "I'll think about it," I added, just to twist the knife gently. Then I closed the door. 5 minutes later, I texted, "The answer is no. Don't contact me again." Dad replied with threats. Mom with guilt. Chase with desperate promises. I blocked them all. Maybe that seems cold. But it's not revenge. It's peace. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. I chose sanity over loyalty, truth over obligation, peace over blood. And it feels like freedom.